So, Greg, what have you been up to in your spare time?
Well, I've decided to do a bit of development. I haven't really done it for a long time, and I thought, seeing as we're all at home, it would be a good idea to get up to speed. So I made a sort of little deal with myself that I would build an app, and I would use every modern app development technique that is out there. So I've been using Swift UI, which is Apple's new way to design interfaces, with Swift, which isn't that new, but still, the modern way to build an iOS app. A thing called Swift Package Manager, which is dependency management, but again, quite modern, and those kind of things. So I've been gradually putting together a little, essentially it's a music player. There's a few little twists on it, but essentially that's what it does. And it's been great fun. And I've realized that I can still develop.
Has the world improved then, do you think, since last time you were tinkering in development? I mean, it's debatable sometimes whether things actually get better or just get more complicated. So,
well, the interesting thing is that I've been building it sort of blind, meaning I've never really built an iOS app before. I have managed apps like that from a product management perspective and teams that build apps. But in terms of doing it myself, I've never really got into it. So I can't compare the new ways to build apps, as in Swift UI and Swift Package Manager and all that. I can't really compare that to the old ways of building apps. I can only compare it to the web. But I must say, it's been wonderful. There seems to be one way to do things. That way seems quite well thought out. Maybe it's something to do with the maturity of the platforms or somewhat. But really, you can get quite far quite quickly. There's so much. So many resources out there, tutorials, example code that you can sort of jump into. It's just been fantastic, really. I've really enjoyed it.
Are you an Apple shill, Greg?
Well, one of the things I have thought, I'm not, but well, maybe I am, but one of the things I have thought is about compromise. I mean, I don't really like that word, but one of my sort of lasting memories of the web is sort of constantly or sort of building for the web is constantly redefining things. So something you want to do, it doesn't quite exist in the way you want to do it. So you then say, well, I'm going to have to do it myself, and you rebuild it. And I sort of made a promise to myself that I wouldn't do that with this. I would just, whatever was or appeared to be the best thing to do the job, I would do that. And if I had to make a compromise on it, then that's what I'd go with. And so that means, yes, I have taken the Apple way, quite far. And when they've said, this is how you display a list, well, that's it. Okay, I need a list. That's the one I'm going to get. And again, it means you get on with it so much quicker than my memory of the web. I mean, maybe Angular and React and all that, maybe they all, have solved this for the web or whatever. But certainly I've been massively impressed with the whole sort of Swift ecosystem. So.
I'm interested in what Swift is like as a language, because I understand it's not that far off Kotlin, as people will know is my pet language.
Well, I don't know Kotlin, but I do know JavaScript a bit, and they're almost identical in the way that you use them. It's all
better than Objective-C, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's all sort of dot notation style syntax. You have an object dot thing on it, and that's it. It does take heavy use of closures, which is quite, compared to when I was a developer by trade, which was maybe 15 years ago. They weren't very popular back then. Now, of course, it's the thing. So I've had to sort of get up to speed with that. And looking at that syntax can be a bit, for an old fogey like me, can be a bit weird, but you get into it quite quickly, and it's quite nice. The better thing has been Swift UI, really. Swift UI, again, I'm not sort of qualified enough to talk about the history, but it's known as a declarative UI language. So you write how you want things to be, and then the system itself works out how to get them into that state. So building a UI, an app UI in Swift UI is very close to HTML, in that you're just sort of, it's not really a grid system, but you have a sort of abstract representation of the screen, and you just put things in places. So you just say, well, I'll have a button there and move it next to this and that kind of stuff. And the Xcode IDE gives you all these live previews. So you can sort of, again, you get very far quite quickly. And I've only been doing it about a week or so, but I haven't yet hit a major blocker that I thought, wow, this is going to be hard to move over.
If only we knew some kind of usability expert as well that we could get to take a look.
I was going to say, I can't comment on the Swift thing, but I mean, have you used it? Is it working?
The app?
The app, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is working. I'm hoping, it's a shame I can't, well, maybe by the time we publish this, I can put a link to it. But
you talk about what it does. You haven't talked about what it does, Greg.
No, well, this is the thing. I'm scared.
What problem is it going to solve for me?
I'm not sure whose problem it solves other than my own, but sometimes you hear that that's the best way that products are built. So the problem that I have is that there's too much music in the world. And when I open Apple Music or Spotify, I'm just overwhelmed with what to listen to. So I tend to just listen to old CDs. And then at other times when I'm not listening to music, I'll hear about things. I might be reading an article, or somebody might talk to me about something, or I might just remember an album that I heard 20 years ago. And really, I just wanted a place to store those memories. So the idea is that if you're in a place when you can't listen to something and you find an album you want to listen to for whatever reason, you can add it to this app, and it's sort of like a locker, like a listen later, a bit like you had for news articles a long time ago. And then it stores it, and then when you're ready to listen to it, you've got it there, and it's sort of singled out from the millions of other albums and releases that you've got. That's really how it started, so that I could, like bookmarking for albums, let's call it that. But of course, once you start going, you're like, oh, and then it can do this, and then it can do that. But I think when I'm done, it will just be a full app, really, like music playing app.
That sounds pretty funky. I think one of the things I do miss is having a physical collection. So you can kind of flick through and go, oh yeah, that I remember that.
I was going to say, What is a CD?
Yeah.
Tell me, Uncle Greg.
Well, funny enough, obviously, I used to work for a hi-fi manufacturer, and one of the things our users used to talk about was how they would have a big collection, and they would take out CDs or vinyl. That became popular as well, and they'd have them and they'd put them sort of in front of the stereo, and that was like the working set. And so they, when they were ready to listen to music, because some people still listen at like watching a TV show that's not casual, it's like active. And when they were doing that, they'd have this sort of pile of albums, and they'd say, right, what am I in the mood for? And that's sort of the experience I'm sort of leaning into, So over time, over a couple of weeks, you pick a load of releases and you think, wow, these are really cool. This is the sort of mood I'm in. And then when you're ready, you've sort of filtered your collection down to just those bits, but without the hassle of a physical CD or a physical vinyl.
That tends to be like what happens now, is that the products always have a story. The best products always have some kind of storytelling aspect. So that's a really good story. And that would that would be really cool to, see that is where the background came from. Yeah.
Well, now I've got to make it a really good app as well.
You've got to change the name. You've got to change the UI. It's called Working Set now.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we look forward to our percentage of the
royalties. Yeah. We do. I look forward to using it. How much is it going to cost?
Oh, well, I was thinking about that today because you're sort of thinking, how can I monetize it and all sorts of stuff like that, which I really don't want to do. But, because of our industry, that's the sort of thing that's always sort of there. And I thought, if I do charge for it, it will be the 99p bracket or whatever it is today. But I probably will make it free until it's out of beta. And like a lot of apps that I like, they never come out of beta. So they've always got that thing there, like, maybe one day you have to pay for it, but they never seem to get there.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I'm probably going to take that model. But you can all be part of the beta team. That's fine.
Sweet.
Well, thanks. Awesome.